November 14, 1910. The Calgary Daily Herald, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Ecstasy, the aim of new cult. London, November 12. Aleister Crowley, poet, is the founder of a new cult, which is to initiate Londoners into the mysteries of ecstasy. He has already enrolled several disciples as ecstatic as himself, and anyone who wishes to join the ranks of the elect may do so upon payment of a 5-guinea fee. The Society of the Equinox has been formed, and the idea is to revive in the 20th century the arts of forgotten ages, whereby you may be lifted to intellectual planes far above the reek and murk of London. Seances, representative of signs of the zodiac, are now taking place at Caxton Hall, and the attendance on the first evening was on a scale promising enough for Mr. Crowley and his satellites. The doorkeeper was dressed as a monk, armed with a naked sword and redolent of mystery. The hall was in almost total darkness, the faint rays of an oriental lamp serving only to heighten the gloom. Dense clouds of incense ascended from half a dozen braziers and gripped you by the throat. You stumbled about trying to find a seat, and when you did so, it promptly collapsed beneath you. Exclamations the reverse of ecstatic were audible, and one man became so nervous that he picked himself up and fled from the hall, followed by the protesting sword-bearer. Out of the blackness came a voice reciting poetry, punctuated with the thud of bare feet prancing on the floor. Dim white figures appeared bearing glimmering red lamps and marching in a circle, stamping heavily without any regard for time. This was supposed to represent the processional march of ancient priests, but as an artistic performance, it left a good deal to be desired. The poetry was very vivid and sonorous. A female figure, draped in white, played a violin solo with a good deal of effect, after which the invisible high priest again poured forth poetry and the same eerie dance recommenced. Before the ceremony was half over, half the audience had been unseated and had retired to the more solid benches around the wall. Why such flimsy little stools had been provided instead of the usual chair remains a mystery. In going to the rescue of one unfortunate woman who was struggling on the floor, the armed monk evidently lost control of his sword, and a sudden yell testified to the keenness of its point. In the tense darkness, it was a trifle uncomfortable to know that the weapon was somewhere in your neighborhood, and whenever its owner came near, there was a general scramble for safety. The performance on the stage was not half as diverting as the impromptu performance in the auditorium. The gist of the sermon preached by Mr. Crowley at this first séance under the auspices of Saturn was that life is a nightmare with nothing beyond it. A peculiar feature of these ceremonies in honor of the various zodiacal deities is that you are requested to wear different colors for the different séances: black or dark blue for Saturn, violet for Jupiter, scarlet or brown for Mars, green or sky blue for Venus, and shot silk for Mercury. There were several well-known society people among the audience, and it may be that the cult of ecstasy will soon become the rage. Its founder asserts that the earnest student of his principles profits mentally and physically, and develops capacity for intellectual enjoyment not possessed by the ordinary mortal. April 30, 1919. The Pittsburgh Press, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You agree with artist, his pictures look best with your eyes closed. New York, April 30. The newest sensation in Greenwich Village is Aleister Crowley, an English artist, portrayer of dead souls, who paints with his eyes shut. Crowley calls himself a subconscious impressionist because when he wants to paint something, he goes up to his easel and, with his eyes closed, allows his hand to move automatically over the canvas. His hand wanders into the realm of dead souls, and very frequently the result is likeness of some living person. The titles of his 2 pictures are Young Bolshevik with Wart Looking at Trotsky and A Daydream of Dead Hats. The latter shows a woman asleep on a veranda while the spirits of bygone bonnets pass across a mystic bridge on the heads of a dozen undressed ladies. Most women dream of dead bonnets when they take a nap, explains Crowley. Crowley says his pictures look more beautiful if you look at them with your eyes closed. Don't run away with the idea that Crowley is a struggling artist. He has a luxurious studio. At the outbreak of the war, he was in the confidential service of the British government. On this work, he was shot in the leg. He became an artist while editing the magazine International. Disgusted at the work of the popular painters of pretty girls, Crowley decided to draw his own covers. He didn't bother about going abroad for 40 or 50 years to study first.